trends starting to form, teams heating up, some teams having trouble getting started. Welcome to All Talk, All USL Talk, USL, couple latest scores, news, and developments. In the second highest division, the United States Men's Professional Soccer System, the USL Championship. I am your host, as always, Vince Galvano. Happy Monday, March 30, 2026, episode 82, episode 6 of season 3. And man, oh man, I would consider this episode more like a back to business as usual, as now we are past the 3 match day mark. We have the opening round of the US Cup done, dusted, and settled. The second round will come middle of this week. We'll talk a little bit of that later in the show. At the moment, it is international break, so if you're trying to promote the league, if people want to watch some club football, now's the time to tell them. But to be quite honest as well, this international break, very interesting, with a little bit more than 70 days to go until the FIFA World Cup, until we get things started and underway with South Africa taking on Mexico. Start planning your summers around it. You know, if you got to talk to your spouses, your relationship partners, your friends, you know, book those bars, book those watch parties, take a look at the schedule, because now's a good time to get going with that. Trust me, you don't want to be traveling on the days of round of 32 games, round of 16 games, games where, because we'll know by Wednesday what the deal is. I was sweating, sitting on my hands, couldn't keep still when Italy was taking on Northern Ireland back on Thursday. Now we'll have Bosnia on Tuesday, so I'm excited about that. We got to see a little bit of the United States in action recently after a little bit of a thumping against Belgium. That was a tough one to watch, but still some signs of improvement, some signs of life. I think Weston McKennie, there's talking to my brother as well, he'll be the standout player, no doubt about it, when it comes to the World Cup this year. Probably more than Pulisic. That's just a hot take. Maybe not so much a hot take. Time will tell, but still so much going on, as well as in the USL. This is USL Championship. I talked about teams heating up. I'm talking about Miami. I'm talking about Lexington. I'm talking about Tampa Bay. And then teams just struggling to get off the ground. Monterey Bay, Brooklyn now coming into a slump. Sporting Jacks, you can add to that list. So it'll be more business as usual as we kind of break down all the fixtures. Tough goal of the week last week to choose from. We'll talk a little bit of just a brief update in the USLPA, more on the World Cup, in particular looking at Jamaica, Curacao, because we had some representation with USL Championship players for both teams, which is pretty cool to see. And yeah, I mean, it just feels like we're starting to get into a flow of things. No update on other training centers or host cities hosting teams. We mentioned in the past that the United States will be going to Irvine, California. They'll be training at the Championship Soccer Stadium, courtesy of Orange County. We know Australia goes to Oakland, but we're still waiting on some others. I think Louisville City, Indy 11, San Antonio, Colorado, the other 4 teams at the moment. So we'll see what teams they'll be hosting, but at least we'll get the scope this week of who is actually qualified for the FIFA World Cup. The remaining spots. Starting with that, let's just kind of build on the momentum. So, ranked number 70 in current FIFA World Rankings, Jamaica. They got past New Caledonia. I think it was on Thursday in the first hurdle of their journey. They will face the Democratic Republic of Congo, which earned a bye to this upcoming Tuesday's deciding contest after advancing past Nigeria. Jamaica, we have to keep in mind they finished second in the group of CONCACAF to Curacao, resulting in the side need to advance through the playoff to potentially join Haiti, Curacao, and Panama alongside hosts United States, Canada, and Mexico in the summer's finals. We have Jamali Waite from Tampa Bay Rowdies at the moment playing backup keeper. It's been the case for Jamaica. We also had Kevin Lambert from Louisville City that was called up. From Curaçao's side of things, I mean, congratulations for qualifying, of course. Miami without Eloy Room and Locadia, because they were selected for Curaçao. They headed to Australia as well to take on Australia in Melbourne. So they had a bit of a journey ahead of them. But Miami fared well without them. We're going to talk about how they're heating up. Talking some midweek games that included them. But first, the midweek game we need to get into is Lexington and Brooklyn. And we should mention that goal of the week, just before we get into the matches, Man, it was a tough one to choose. Owen Dam, though, was the one that came away with 41% of the fan vote. The 22-year-old's first-time strike ripped into the top left corner of the net to give the Scissors Tails victory in a 5-goal thriller against Las Vegas at One Oak Field. So that was courtesy of him. Jose Quizera was 26% of the vote. He was the beautiful curler with Rhode Island against Louisville City back on March 21st. The Rwanda international really picked out the top left corner with the curler. I like that goal a lot. I like Bruno Rendon's goal for Indiana. Indy 11 taking on Detroit back on March 21st. The Cuban bagged his first goal of the season with that nice left-footed volley from 20 yards that picked the top right corner, lifted Indy to its victory in its home opener. And then Tyson Espy was the 16-year-old scoring his first goal in the professional ranks for OC. He finished with 28%, so second to Owen Dam. But Orange County have been, just from covering the goal of the week for the past 2 years, their fans show up when it comes time to put in votes. That's for sure. But congratulations, Owen Dam. That was a tough one. Goal of the week there. Definitely want to check that out. Before we get into the games, I should mention the 6 minutes in, there was 2 episodes this week. We did have our first ever player interview with Kieran Dalton. If you have not been able to check that out, definitely do so. Kieran came on, very nice to take the time and discuss a little bit the recent signing to Monterey Bay, life as a professional goalkeeper now that he signed his first professional contract. Him and I had gone to the same high school, albeit at much different times considering he's 22 and I'm approaching my 30s here at 29. But what's really cool is just hearing about his journey, hearing how he got to the USL Championship, still awaiting that first appearance, but we'll talk more Monterey Bay later in their visit to Las Vegas. All right, midweek games, let's get into it. Lexington taking on Brooklyn. It was really a set-piece spark in the second half after a tight, close affair for much of the game. Lexington had to be patient. They grinded through a tight contest. But in the 74th minute, it was Aaron Malloy who stepped up, delivered a sweeping free kick from the left side that snuck all the way into the far corner. An absolute moment of quality to break the deadlock from the Irishman. And that goal would just open the floodgates late from there. Nick Firmino, just minutes later, nearly doubled the lead with a close-range header. But after a strong save from goalkeeper Jackson Lee, the recycled possession fell kindly for Blaine Ferry, who fired home in the 85th minute to put the result beyond doubt. And then 3 goals, 3 points. You know, I love saying that. Lexington added the finishing touch in stoppage time. Malik Henry Scott, assisted by Adedokin, capped off the performance with a clean finish to seal a 3-0 victory. Brooklyn FC suffering its 3rd consecutive defeat as it was unable to carve out enough quality chances in the final third, with, you know, the best opportunities of the night coming after Malloy put the hosts ahead. Match-defining free kick for Aaron Malloy. Constant threat from distance. This we know. He has definitely a little bit of a set-piece specialist aspect to himself and can hit them from far out. 10 career goals from outside the box. Jackson Lee, though, he did make some key saves, including denying Firmino. Couldn't hold off that late surge to help rescue a point for Brooklyn. Nonetheless, though, one of the things that came out, especially on the Rondo, the official USL newsletter from Nicholas Murray, was talk from Mac Hemme, the Lexington head coach, talking about Aaron Malloy, saying, end quote, "He's the best leader I've ever worked with. In all phases of the game, he is locked in. He's not only a good player, but he makes others better." And that's what you want from a captain. One of the biggest signings in the offseason, already proving the case for Lexington as they come here with the 3-0 victory. Let's talk about Sporting Jacks and Miami. Bit of a Florida derby here. We talked about Eloy Room and Jurgen Locadia being selected for Curacao and playing against Australia, so they weren't in contention here for the match day roster for Miami, but that didn't hold them back. Sporting Jacks, though, couldn't have asked for a better start. And just 2 minutes in, Harvey Neville whipped in a dangerous cross that found Kieran Sadlier, who finished clinically to give the hosts an earlier lead. Miami responded quickly in the 10th minute as a long throw into the box found Mason Tunbridge, who controlled and volleyed home to level it at 1-1. But Jacksonville hit back in the 22nd minute. After Dita Armstrong drew a penalty, Sadlier stepped up and buried his second of the night to restore the 2-1 advantage. But then momentum just began to shift a bit. Miami growing into the game in the 54th minute, albeit Sporting Jacks having the lead going into halftime, but really quickly, Miami starting to come back in this. Alessandro Malesi finding space and then finishing smartly to bring Miami level at 2-2. And then just minutes later, Miami completed the turnaround as Arnie Rocha won and converted a penalty of his own, putting the visitors ahead for the first time on the night. Miami delivered the final blow in the 83rd minute. A well-worked move saw Rodrigo DaCosta, one of the signings that came from North Carolina, folding. For the time being, if you recall, he was involved in the build-up play before slipping in Ndongo, who made no mistake to seal the 4-2 comeback, capping off a dominant second-half display from the visitors, winning that second half 3-0, winning the game 4-2. So a 6-goal thriller, Miami storming back to sink their neighbors, Jacksonville. Kieran Salia, though, was the high point for Sporting Jacks, a brace that included the composed penalty and a bright attacking outlet throughout. I think the question is, is this a warning sign for Jacksonville's inaugural season? It could be. It could be. We know that, from John Morrissey talking about USL tactics, that Sporting Jacks were going to play this sort of high-octane, high-line, 4-4-2 pressing style of football. They are scoring goals. They're conceding a lot as well. Attacking pieces are clearly there, but game management, defensive structure is always a tough thing to balance, especially coming into the fold as a professional side in your inaugural season. Sporting Jack staff, Miami FC Club report there with the coverage. We're going to stick with Miami because they got back-to-back wins, and that's a really big thing. When Rondo was talking about 5 clubs that could use their first win this season, Rhode Island FC was named in the list of 5. Eastern Conference finalists in each of its first 2 seasons, the Draw Kings, as we would certainly know of them from the first season as well when they came in for their inaugural season, but they probably should have put away Sporting Club Jacksonville in the season opener before running into Louisville City's attacking buzzsaw last weekend. That's put Rhode Island in a bit of a hole compared to the East's frontrunners early as it head over to Miami, which is coming off its first win. So it built off the momentum against Sporting Jacks. Miami now still in Florida. It wasn't like that big of a turnaround to travel to Jacksonville to come back to Miami to play the game. No problems there. Meanwhile, Rhode Island had to head down south. We know Rhode Island won its both prior visits to South Florida. Even without the suspended J.J. Williams, they'll want to make it 3-for-3 on Saturday, but Rocha ran the show. Rhode Island, they came out sharp. They nearly struck first with an early effort from Rodriguez sliding just wide, but Miami took control 22nd minute. It was a chipped effort from Mason Tunbridge that rattled off the post, falling perfectly for Arnie Rocha, who reacted quickest to tuck home the rebound, give Miami the lead. Miami then doubled their advantage in the 50th minute. This time, Rocha turned provider, slipping a pass into Ndongo, who drove a shot the left side of the box into the far corner to make it 2-0, putting the hosts firmly in control. Rhode Island would pull them back just after the hour mark through Dwayne Atkinson, who finished it first time from the center of the box after a deflected cross fell kindly to his path. But any hopes of a late comeback faded when Bacharach was sent off the red card, 10 minutes to play, allowing Miami to really just manage those final stages and secure a 2-1 victory. Rocha at the center of everything, goal and assist in a complete attacking performance, building off the penalty he scored last time around against Sporting Jacks. Moreover, add Ndongo to the list. So 2 goals for each of these players, 2 consecutive games. So that's very interesting to see. And they're building momentum, back-to-back wins, growing confidence attack. Rhode Island's struggle continues, still winless and undone by some missed chances, as well as Bacharach's disciplinary issues there. So Miami turning a corner early this season. I think it looks that way. They're starting to find some rhythm. If you go back, we know that Miami had 3 consecutive wins last time around, and it was back in May of 2025. You recall, Miami beat San Antonio, Loudoun, and Tampa on the spin. But that was giving them 3 straight USL Championship wins. That time around, the last time they had back-to-back, you can actually see it was the tail end of last season when they beat Birmingham on October 19 and 3-2, and they beat Sacramento 1-0. So a chance to tie their record in their next matchup, but back-to-back wins for Miami, starting the season off strong and starting to build momentum. Definitely a team that is getting in the driver's seat of things. Another team that needed a win that was shouted out in the Rondo 5 clubs that could use their first win of the season, the official USL newsletter from Nicholas Murray. It was New Mexico United. They took on, neighboring state Colorado. It's never fun being the last team to not register a point in the league. That's where New Mexico found themselves after being held to the fewest passes in a game since Dennis Sanchez became head coach last year in their previous encounter, United winning 4 of its prior 6 home openers, excluding 2020, when there wasn't one for reasons, obviously COVID-wise. But they could definitely use some of the Labs' mojo as it went to go on and host Colorado Saturday afternoon. And man, oh man, did they make it in stoppage time, that's for sure. It took a while to get going, but a 5-goal second half that was just feasts for all eyes to see. Colorado, though, were the ones to strike first from the spot in the 57-minute courtesy of Bennett early in the second half. Then New Mexico responded pretty much right away in the 64th minute. Less than 10 minutes later, Greg Hurst threaded a perfectly weighted through ball to Dayon Harris, who finished to level things at 1-1. Just over 10 minutes later, the host turned the game on its head. Valentin Noel striking an effort that deflected off defender Talon Maples, who had just transferred from New Mexico to Colorado. Talking about reunions, but ending on the wrong side of that shot, deflecting into his own net, and New Mexico 2-1 lead heading into the final stages. We would go into stoppage time, and 90th plus 4th chaos would ensue, Colorado earning a controversial penalty and converting it to make it 2-2, Bennett securing his double from the spot to earn a brace on the night, seemingly salvaging a point. No 3 points for Mexico, but I always say 3 goals, 3 points. One final attack, New Mexico delivering the knockout blow. Ousmane Jabang pounced in the dying seconds to fire home a dramatic winner, seal a 3-2 stunning victory for New Mexico. The Lab was going crazy. If you haven't checked it out, the atmosphere was electric. Late game madness, as rightfully so. It's always going to get the crowd going. What does this result say about New Mexico early in the season? Shows some belief. This team does not quit, and the Lab is always the Lab. High above sea level in New Mexico, we know that. That's for sure. It is always a tough place to play. Probably one of, I would say, top 5 tough places to play. We'll talk about Detroit at Keyword Stadium shortly too. But finding ways to create chances late, capitalize when it matters most, that mentality can define a season. Ousmane Jabang, the hero of the night. Greg Hurst, a key creative outlet, as always, as he's been consistent. But defensive lapses proved costly. Colorado couldn't see out the result twice now, if you recall, from their match recently against Orange County, where they also conceded pretty much in stoppage time. That was courtesy of Tyson Espy, as we talked about. So back-to-back losses, back-to-back late goals. Unfortunate for Colorado. They'll hope to swing things in their favor when they return, albeit with some midweek action for the U.S. Open Cup, but also against Lexington at home next weekend. So it was New Mexico. It was Rhode Island. 2 other clubs on the 5 clubs that could use their first win this season. Las Vegas and Monterey Bay, both teams taking on each other here, this time in Nevada. Monterey Bay, they had a near victory against Sacramento Republic. They offered something for the side to build on this week, just as its week 1 performance did against Oakland Roots. But now it needs to start getting into the habit of putting together results. More minutes from the experienced heads of Sebastian Lletget, Riley Bedois, and Wesley Leggett, all of whom came on as substitutes last week to help change the game against Sacramento, might prove the right formula when they headed over to Las Vegas. Then Las Vegas, talking about them, winless in their first 3 games this season, but hosting Monterey Bay here in the home opener. The club's overall winless run is 11 games, dating back to the end of last season. It's the longest streak for the side since the bad old day of the 2023 campaign, before the current ownership took over. Las Vegas certainly a side that needs to start creating better quality chances, but a side that can't live without Abraham Okiere at the moment, because he's been scoring bangers alone. But they need to get things on track. Both teams really need to get things on track. And this one was a tight affair in Las Vegas. Monterey Bay had the opportunity to take a lead in the 11th minute after Bedois was brought down in the penalty area. Sebastian Lletget, the big signing, former MLS All-Star, shot the penalty kick over the crossbar. The Lights then would get a penalty kick of their own as Arteaga was brought down inside the box, but the Venezuelan shot his effort wide of the left post. Proved third time lucky 4 minutes into the second half in the state where all the casinos, you need some luck sometimes. Las Vegas awarded a second penalty kick, the third penalty kick overall on the night after a handball by Monterey Bay, and Johnny Rodriguez converted with a low shot to the left corner of the net. The Lights almost doubling their lead for Christian Pinzon, only for Goalkeeper Delgado to make a good stop, but Rodriguez's goal stood up as the winner to lift the hosts to victory. Just a tale of two teams currently not finding form at the bottom of things, especially when missed penalty kicks take place and whatnot. But Las Vegas, they came for the first win of the campaign, breaking that 11-game winless streak dating back to the previous season. Monterey Bay winless start to the season continues, as out of anybody, Sebastian Leget's earliest penalty missing proved costly. The visitors now has been held scoreless in 3 of their last 4 games of the campaign. The key moment, obviously, Johnny Rodriguez keeping a goal from the spot to convert, sending the goalkeeper Delgado the opposite way. Second goal of the season, and obviously the game winner of this one. Did also complete 16 of 19 passes, as well as notching 1 chance created for the host. So Johnny Rodriguez was the player of the match from USLChampionship.com on the night. Let's talk Detroit taking on Charleston. A big storyline heading into this one. We talked obviously about Danny Cruz being one of the youngest and fastest coaches to reach 100 wins in the USL Championship. But talk about 100 wins. What about Ben Pierman? He's guided the club from strength to strength in Charleston. They won 37 of 64 games in the past 2 regular seasons. And after consecutive wins to start the new campaign, Pierman is on the verge of a 100 victories on the sideline across USL Championship regular season and playoffs. He's got 99, 43, 38 record, putting him in position to be the second fastest coach to reach that century mark. Danny Cruz no longer the league. We discussed that. He's now the assistant coach over at Minnesota United in the MLS. But man, oh man, 100th on the cusp of it. Certainly a major achievement, but one for which Pierman is eager to pass around credit. He had said leading up to this one, and quoted, featured in the USL newsletter, The Rondo, quote, "I want to win more than anything, but it takes so many people, processes, resources, and luck to achieve successes. We are more focused on improving and having high-quality performances, but always want to do our best to achieve results. Personally, I would not be in this situation near this milestone without the support of so many people, and for that, I am beyond grateful." There you go, from the head coach of Charleston, but they had to take on a disciplined, difficult Detroit side at Keyword Stadium. Always a hostile environment because the fans, they feel right on top of you with the Northern Guard and so forth. It was a scoreless first half, but Detroit, they appeared to have taken the lead 12 minutes of the second half, only for Ryan Williams to be ruled offside before his cross off a short corner routine found Montgomery for a flicked header into the right corner of the net. But LaRouge took the lead, 15 minutes left to play. Atez Juve found Smith with a low cross from the left. The South African forward flicked home into the right corner, giving the hosts victory, his 4th goal of the season. That's right, Darren Smith leading the lines of the entire league with 4 goals to the good, the leading goal scorer at the moment. What was really impressive on this play was Yamazaki, the Japanese right back for Detroit, who carried the ball into the center of the offensive third and would proceed to use a really nice classic L-turn skill move to perfection to open up that space and push the attack forward on the left side. You definitely want to check out that nice skill from the Japanese right back for Detroit. And the hosts put together an impressive defensive performance, allowing only 3 shots to the visitors, despite the Battery having more possession and 58 final third entries to Detroit's 39. But the Battery couldn't come up with a late rally for his second consecutive outing after struggling to find enough incisiveness, and then obviously now face a tricky week on the road at Charlotte Independence in the U.S. Open Cup before their clash against Eastern Conference rivals Louisville City next weekend. Hartford taking on Indiana. Late drama in Hartford in this one, but they struck first at the 31st minute. It was Sadat Anaku, who was given space at the top of the box after receiving a long ball from Dispay, turning quickly and firing past Eric Dick to give the host a 1-0 lead. Hartford looked comfortable heading into halftime, but Indy 11 came out flying after the break, finding their equalizer almost immediately. Noble Okello tapping home at the back post after a dangerous cross from Cam Lindley sliced through the box. Indy continued to exploit Hartford in transition, taking the lead in the 73rd minute. A quick restart caught Hartford off guard, and a teasing ball from Mika Thomas found Bruno Rendon, who finished to make it a 2-1 lead and complete the turnaround. Bruno Rendon getting consecutive goals in this one and last time around as well for Indy 11. So with momentum firmly on their side, Hartford had to come up with something, and they did have the final say. Late pressure down the right side, sparked by the return of the Nigerian Michelle Galina, led to a corner that caused chaos in the box. A flick on from Augie Williams. The ball did fall awkwardly to Josh O'Brien, but he turned it in. It was own net. Yeah, that's right. It was an own goal. A little bit of luck as well for Hartford. And then there was a dramatic late equalizer in the 89th minute there to secure a 2-2 draw. Transition kills until it doesn't. Indy's quick attacks flipped the game, but they couldn't hold on late. Hartford's resilience, though, late pressure persistence, keeping their unbeaten run alive. One of 6 teams remaining undefeated. We'll talk about the other 6 teams as well later when I finish all talking about the results. We still have Brooklyn, Tampa, Tulsa, Oakland, and Sacramento to discuss their games in respect to that. But Hartford's unbeaten start sustainable? If they keep showing levels of resilience, yes. They may not control every match, but the ability to grind out results and respond late is a strong early season indicator. Angelina also coming back as an impact sub whose energy sparked the late equalizer. And yeah, Indy at the moment losing control in the final moments, just proving costly for them on the season so far. But they'll take solace in the fact that they are 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss to start out their 3-game campaign. Next game coming against Pittsburgh, the defending USL champions. Talking about Pittsburgh, let's talk about their match against Sporting Jacks. They came out flying in their home opener, striking early in the 7th minute. A chip ball from Beto Idrak into the box caused chaos, and Albert Dikwa reacted quickest, hurdling a fallen teammate before turning and finishing into the top corner to make it 1-0. The lead doubled 27th minute in spectacular fashion as Sam Bassett intercepted play, drove forward, unleashing a stunning strike from over 30 yards out that went into the top corner to put Hounds firmly in control at 2-0. The host would then extend their lead early in the second half when Dikwa stepped up from the penalty spot in the 50th minute after a handball in the box, calmly converting it to make it 3-0. But Jacksonville refused to roll over. 58th minute, a shot from Jordan Rossiter deflected off Traore and into the net to pull him back, before just 4 minutes later, Harvey Neville launching a long ball forward that found Jääskeläinen, who finished low to suddenly make it 3-2 and shift the momentum. But Pittsburgh tightened up defensively in the remaining half an hour, limited chances, and then would walk away. 3 goals, 3 points to the good. Still Sporting Jacks searching for their first victory in the USL Championship after back-to-back losses. Now only 1 draw, 1 point to the good. That was back in March, middle of March against Rhode Island. Elsewhere it's been losses to Hartford, Miami, and now Pittsburgh. Their next match will be against Tampa. So another derby match in Florida. Hopefully they can get something from that game and possibly a first victory. Brooklyn, the inaugural team in their season. It was always the question, would Brooklyn perform better than Sporting Jacks and so forth? Brooklyn does have a win this time around. They had to host the Players' Shield Championship back-to-back season in the Eastern Conference. The Royal Purple Louisville City FC visiting Maimonides Park in Brooklyn. It was tight from the start. Brooklyn FC actually creating the early danger. Set pieces did cause problem. Headers from Latinovic and Vankaj Zile, who both went close, but goalkeeper Jackson Lee was called into action multiple times to keep Louisville at bay. Despite Louisville generating chances of their own, neither side could find the breakthrough. But the decisive moment did come in the 60th minute, and it wasn't pretty. Ray Serrano, though, driving forward, beating his defender, firing a cross into the box that deflected awkwardly of Vankaj Zile into his own net, handing Louisville a 1-0 lead. It was a really nice bridge by Serrano to exploit that space and carry that ball into the box before putting that cross in that would awkwardly bounce off Vankaj Zile. But Brooklyn did try to push hard for an equalizer. They created some quality chances late on. Anderson tested the keeper from distance. Stojanovic was denied from close range. Okayoshi tried his luck outside the box, but Farreau stood firm in between the pipes for Louisville City, and they would hold on, sustain that pressure. Greedy 1-0 win on the road for Louisville City at Maimonides Park. Not pretty, but effective. That's the thing. Hugo Farreau looking calm and reliable when called upon to preserve the clean sheet. And Ray Serrano is Ray Serrano, consistently showing up for Louisville City. And they have always been a complete team. They still are a complete team, still undefeated despite Danny Cruz's departure. Things are working out just fine for the coaches in charge at the moment. The assistant Del Picchio, and that's right, Simon Bird, who are heading things at the moment for Louisville. after the departure of Danny Cruz. So still maintaining that momentum. Louisville City getting the 3 points. 3 goals, 3 points. We always talk about it. It's kind of been the trend so far for this one. But Tampa Bay setting the tone almost immediately in their hosting of the contest between themselves and Loudoun United FC. They grabbed the lead in the 7th minute. Marco Micheletto's delivery was initially headed clear. Sebastian Cruz pounced on loose ball at the top of the box, took a nice touch, and then ripped a right-footed strike into the top right corner to make it 1-0. Loudoun hit back right after halftime, though. It came from a moment of real quality in the 48th minute. Ulfarsson stepped up over a free kick and whipped it off the underside of the crossbar and in to level the match at 1-1. But Tampa answered pretty much immediately. Less than 5 minutes later, a long throw in from Schaefer created problems. Lewis Hilton kept the ball alive with the header, and Max Schneider's audacious volley clipped the bar, bounced off goalkeeper Adam Budry, and then crossed the line for an own goal that restored the Rowdies' lead. A little bit of luck there for Tampa. They stayed in control. Substitutes combined in the final third. Evan Conway flicked a clever pass through the line for M.D. Myers in the 80th minute, who timed his run perfectly and finished to seal a 3-1 win over Loudoun. The Rowdies outshot Loudoun on the night 20-6, and Loudoun's equalizer didn't shift momentum for long as well, but substitutes Myers and Conway linking up at the end to make sure Tampa walked away with this one with all 3 points. 3 straight wins, consistent pressure, and a clear response whenever momentum shifts their way. Tampa at the moment looking like a team with structure, belief, and multiple ways to hurt opponents, but they'll have a tough contest against Sporting Jacks in a derby matchup where Sporting Jacks will certainly want to come out with just a point, possibly their first victory in the inaugural season, but Tampa's going to have to try to stave them off. A great contest to look forward to next week. John Morrissey of USLTactics.com talked about Phoenix rising and possibly having Charlie Dennis as the offensive engine. You know, talking about a primary creator you can build around. Phoenix really unlocks him when chasing games. They need to activate Dennis earlier in matches, not reactively, was one of the takeaways in this one. But ironically, it was Carvajal who would get on the board for Phoenix Rising. In this one, both second half goals. It was interesting to see the Sister Tails FC Tulsa hosting Phoenix in this one. They could have taken the lead midway through the second half as Khalil Ahmedkar redirected home a shot for Bruno Lampa, only for the offside flag to be raised. So an offside goal there, denying FC Tulsa an early advantage over Phoenix. But the host did go in front early in the second half as Tulsa's high pressure set up a chance for the Sparks that he put away from close range. Rising rallied for his point with 16 minutes to go. It was Carvajal heading home powerfully from Easton Sacco's header to level the game up. Phoenix Rising battling back to earn a result once again. Carvajal was the one capitalizing the second opportunity after just a minute earlier putting another good opportunity well wide of the post. Juan Carvalho's equalizer was his first goal in the USL Championship since joining Phoenix this offseason and then earning the visitors a third consecutive draw. Scissor Tails unable to find a second consecutive victory, and this one against Phoenix. But Phoenix is winless in its last 5 regular season games, dating back to the final game of the 2025 season. Its longest winless streak since August 31st to October 5th, which also occurred last season. Bailey Sparks, though, FC Tulsa, the 23-year-old, opened the scoring of the night for the host, completed 18 of 21 passes while notching 3 shots overall in a tightly fought contest. They split the spoils there at One Oak Field. Let's talk about Oakland taking on Orange County. Bunbury scoring his first goal for OC in this one as he latched onto a ball over the top by Chris Hagart in the 46th minute, rounding the goalkeeper Raphael Spiegel before finishing into the open net. Roots tried to find a way back into the game as Hackshaw and Betachi had efforts denied by goalkeeper Alex Rando from Orange County. But the visitors held firm before Spiegel was sent off late for attempting to disrupt a counterattack by launching a second ball onto the field after going up for a late free kick, which was really interesting to see. So the Swiss getting his marching orders in this one for Oakland and making sure that the game would only finish 1-0 as opposed to 2-0. But Orange County continues to grind out victories with some of its notable young talent delivering the goals. 20-year-old Mateo Bunbury delivering the winner this time after it was a 16-year-old last time against Las Vegas. So I don't know what they are drinking over there in OC, but the youth is certainly rising for Orange County so far this season. Talk about Sacramento taking on El Paso. One of the best defenses are the ones that really don't defend much. El Paso's rest of defense being praised by John Morrissey. They have a solid defensive identity. They have solid transition control. One of the most improved defensive teams early on so far in the 2026 season, conceding just about 1.06 expected goals per match. So it's been a tactical evolution under Junior Gonzalez. More attacking freedom, we can say, versus Wilmer Cabrera's conservative setup of last time. They really settled the trains over there at Locomotive after El Paso was abysmal in the 2024 season. Obviously, Wilmer Cabrera came in the tail end of that season, settled the ship for El Paso to earn them playoff rights last time around. But now they're maintaining that defensive identity, and they have a bit more output in the attacking third. Noah Dollemeyer is one of the one who we can shout out here, anchoring the defense with athletic and progressive passing. Sacramento hosting El Paso in this one, and it was two first-half goals that would put El Paso in the lead for much of the matchup. Eric Cavillo threaded a perfectly weighted pass into the box for Armando Moreno in the 25th minute, who turned and slipped his finish just inside that right post to make it 1-0. Then in the 37th minute, after Moreno was brought down in the area, Alex Mendez stepping up, confidently converting the penalty into the top right corner to put El Paso firmly in command. Sacramento would get one back, but this time late. It was in the 90th plus second minute after Mark Anthony Kay was brought down, and it was Michel Benitez who, converted the penalty from 11 meters out to cut the deficit in half. They tried to get everything as much as they can forward in the dying moments, but it was a heroic late sequence, including multiple saves from goalkeeper El Paso side Sebastian Mora, and another effort off the post, allowing El Paso to hang on for a dramatic and hard-fought victory, despite Eric Cavillo, one of the best players so far this season for El Paso, receiving a red card in the 55th minute. So more than half an hour, El Paso would hang on in this one. With that being said, who remains undefeated? As of this recording, only 6 teams remain undefeated. 3 in the East, 3 in the West. And in the Eastern side of things, it's Hartford, Tampa, and yeah, you guessed it, Louisville City. Meanwhile, I obviously recording here on a Sunday in Central Europe, so we'll see what happens with San Antonio against Lexington. But San Antonio is still one of the teams undefeated, but you can add El Paso to that list, and you can also add Orange County. These kind of 16s doing so far so good. San Antonio versus Lexington, we'll see what happens. Lexington right now trying to eye 3 consecutive clean sheets in league play for the first time in club history. Meanwhile, if you look at San Antonio's side of things, they're unbeaten, as we know, right? 2 wins and 1 draw so far, with wins over Phoenix and New Mexico. Texas side has only conceded 1 goal all season, while scoring 3. Jorge Hernandez, and Christian Perano have been the club's key men early, combining for assists on all 3 of the side's goals and creating 20 scoring chances between the both of them. You can add as well, USL Championship veteran Alex Crognali, former Lexington man himself, Danny Barbier will be in this one. Goalkeeper Joey Butruni, who has saved 9 of the 10 shots he has faced this season. But we'll see what happens. Lexington also trying to get a little bit of momentum on their side. Should be a very good matchup. That taking place Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern, I believe, in Texas. All right, we'll talk quickly the league table, and then I want to talk U.S. Open Cup, and then we'll preview next week's matches, and we'll be out of here. But, yeah, let's talk league table side at the moment. So, Louisville City sitting comfortably on top of the Eastern Conference with 12 points to the good, 4 wins, back-to-back. For then Tampa Bay sitting just right underneath them, with 9 points, 3 wins to the good from 3 matches played. Hartford then find themselves in 3rd place with 8 points to the good. Miami FC, back-to-back wins, putting them with 7 points from 4 matches played. They'll take on Hartford next, which that should be a really good game. Then 5th place, really three teams tied. Charleston with 6 points, Detroit with 6 points, Pittsburgh with 6 points, but Pittsburgh have 4 matches played compared to Detroit and Charleston. 8th place, you have Indy 11 with a win, a draw, and a loss to start their season, 4 points to the good. 9th place, you have Brooklyn. They are the team that's played the most games so far in the Champions League with 5. Only 3 points to show for it with that first win against Indy 11. But since then, back-to-back losses for Brooklyn. Birmingham Legion find themselves with 1 point from 3 matches played, as well as Loudoun, as well as Rhode Island, and the bottom of the Eastern Conference, Sporting Jacks with 1 point from 4 matches. Western Conference side of things, OC at the top with 8 points, 2 draws, 2 wins to start their season for 4 matches played. El Paso in second with 7 points, 3 matches played with them. Tied with them is San Antonio. We'll see what happens, obviously, against Lexington tonight while I'm recording this. So, but you'll all know results-wise what the case is tomorrow on Monday. Albeit today's Monday, right? But Oakland in third place with 7 points. In fifth place, FC Tulsa with 5 points, as well as Sacramento tied with them. Seventh place, it is Colorado Springs with 4 points. Las Vegas with 4 points in eighth place. You have also with 4 points Lexington with 3 matches to the good, so a game in hand over Las Vegas and Colorado. Bottom of the Western Conference, these are things look. New Mexico, 3 matches played, 3 points to the good. And then you have Phoenix Rising, 4 matches played, 3 draws in their first 4 matches, still searching for their first win. And so is Monterey Bay with only 1 point from 4 matches, similar to Sporting Jacks. Next matches on Saturday, April 4th is as follows. Miami hosts Hartford Athletic at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific. Louisville City at the same time will host Charleston Battery. Rhode Island will at the same time will host Detroit City at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific. Colorado Springs Switchbacks host Lexington. Loudoun United host Birmingham, and at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, Indy 11 hosts Pittsburgh. We'll talk about Pittsburgh shortly in the U.S. Open Cup since they beat Steel City, but they will be taking on Indy 11 there. Sporting Jacks host Tampa Bay Rowdies, 7:30 Eastern on April 4th, the derby there in Florida. El Paso will take on Las Vegas in El Paso, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. It is Orange County taking on New Mexico United. Monterey Bay at the same time will host San Antonio FC. And Sacramento will host Phoenix Rising at the same time as well. Quickly, just before we wrap things up, let's talk U.S. Open Cup. There was one game that took place this past Wednesday. It was the Riverhounds taking on Steel City. Danny Griffin reacting quickest to a loose ball early on in the contest that, had a Robbie Mertz delivery, lifting his effort over a fallen defender and into the net to give the Hounds the lead. Second goal arrived in the 60th minute when Charles All, assisted by Perrin Barnes, took a touch just outside the box, rifling a shot into the top corner. Easily the cleanest moment of quality on the night and would look to be a dagger. Steel City FC refused to go quietly, though. They drawed a late foul in the box. Nick Reika stepped up and converted the penalty to make it 2-1 and inject some late tension. Even after Steel City went down to 10 men in the 86th minute, Pittsburgh failed to fully close things out convincingly, but they just did enough to get the job done, edging a 2-1 win in the U.S. Open Cup. So it keeps that trend going. In the first round, all USL Championship teams making its way through. We return in the second round of the U.S. Open Cup. Lamar Hunt, U.S. Open Cup there on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Tuesday, March 31st, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 games taking place. Indy 11 hosts Union Omaha. Asheville City hosts One Knoxville Soccer Club. That'll take place same time. Like I said, FC Naples, America, CFL Spurs also taking place. Pittsburgh Browns, who just beat Steel City, right, to earn their matchup, hosting Virginia Dream on Tuesday, March 31st at 7 p.m. Eastern. Half an hour later, we'll have Charlotte Independence hosting Charleston Battery. Valley 559 hosting Sacramento Republic FC. Chattanooga hosts Tennessee Tempo. Richmond Kickers will host Loudoun United FC. But both those games, Chattanooga and Tennessee Tempo, Richmond Kickers and Loudoun, will kick off Wednesday. That's around 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. On Wednesday, April 1st, you'll also have Vermont Green hosting Westchester SC. And then we'll have a really good matchup, a rematch of the opening match of the USL Championship 2026 season. Lexington hosting Louisville City on Wednesday, April 1st, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific for the Kentucky Derby there. You'll have another intra-conference matchup between Rhode Island and Hartford Athletic. Rhode Island will host Hartford at Centerville Bank Stadium on Wednesday, April 1st, 7 p.m. Eastern. Flint City Bucks at 7:30 Eastern p.m. host Detroit City FC. Colorado Springs will host Spokane Velocity, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. Another USL Championship matchup, San Antonio FC hosting FC Tulsa on Wednesday, April 1st at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. New Mexico United hosting El Paso Locomotive FC. That's the derby you should be taking a look at as well on Wednesday, April 1st. Big rivalry there of New Mexico and El Paso. The Derby del Camino Real between New Mexico and El Paso. Always a great matchup. Don't forget, in the 2025 U.S. Open Cup, it was El Paso who eliminated New Mexico on penalties after a draw, which had more fuel to their rivalries. So this will be very interesting. A chance for redemption for New Mexico and do the same to El Paso that was done to them last time around in the 2025 edition of the U.S. Open Cup. Orange County hosts Phoenix Rising as well in the U.S. Open Cup Wednesday, April 1st, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. And that will pretty much do it for us at Talk USL Championship. A big thank you for making it to the way of the end. I didn't mention negotiations still ongoing with the USL Players Association and the USL regarding the collective bargaining agreement. So still the 1 minute silence across all fields in the USL Championship this weekend, including players standing around the center circle. And by now, with home openers for each team's underway, it's clear awareness is spreading with the Stand With The Players trademark. The USL Players Association stories on social media, especially on Instagram from what I'm seeing, keep increasing each week with fan-made signs and chants ringing around the USL to pay the players what they deserve and to stand with players. So, obviously, giving as much as luck is needed to ensure those negotiations come to close rather sooner than later, and that the USLPA can collectively and convincingly come away with a good, solid agreement that puts the players first and gives them exactly what they are asking for and what they required to ensure a healthy future, the USL Championship. And I wish you guys and ensure a healthy future in your upcoming week. We'll be back next time around. We'll see what happens. I'll be traveling, out of the country next weekend, so we'll see if I'm able to get out the episode at the specific time that I usually like to on a Sunday. I may have to release it a little bit later on the Monday. Time will tell, but yeah, always be on the lookout at Talk USL everywhere podcasts are available. All the best, guys. Take care. Much love. Talk soon.